jobs around.
Yeah, that's right, and, so she never knew, he
Yeah.
always just had kind of part-time jobs, and so she was always trying to build up a nest egg.
I always remember when Grandma would come over and she'd go, Millie, and she'd had her,
Yeah,
had her some money. Don't let
yeah,
Joe
when
see
she
it.
got desperate, but they never wanted old Joseph to know, yeah,
Probably would never have made it without her.
exactly, yeah.
Who, Gilmet?
What?
Joseph Gilmet or no?
Joe.
Joseph Gilmet.
Joe Gilmet.
She married him in her 40s or
That was the
something.
French guy, the guy of the apartments.
Yeah.
But he just got her because she was a seamstress, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was because he was in the
And
Depression.
And Willie could clean the place.
Yeah, but he used to, like, he'd bring all the old clothes, he'd pick up clothes at auctions and things, then she'd clean them and sew them all and put the buttons on, and he'd take them out and sell them in the country,
Yeah,
the farmers,
yeah.
during the Depression. So basically, he just got a laborer.
Right.
And you know, when she died, I don't know, did Mom tell you about when they did an X-ray on her?
Oh, and she had the needles.
She had a needle stuck in that heavy, this heavy, like this
It
part
was
of
in her
her.
belly.
Somewhere, no, I think Mama said it was here where she figured she sat down like in a chair and it popped in, like in that real roll.
No, she always wore that apron, and
Yeah.
she would put the big darning needles in the
Yeah.
apron, and, cause they were handy.
Yeah,
And so when she would fall all the time,
yeah,
they'd go in and she would never feel it, cause she had a lot of fat there.
yeah.
And they just lodged in the
She
fat.
died pretty young, really, didn't she? Really?
What?
She was fairly young when she died.
Yeah, maybe 65, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, she had a hell of a hard life.
Well, and when she died, I don't know who, said she had 5 things, each one enough to have killed her. I forget what they all were, the gross overweight, and I forget what.
Diabetes.
Diabetes, I don't know what the other things were.
Well, what did Grandma say? I mean, the end she would say about her dad, right? She wasn't, what did
Oh,
she
he
say?
was a bastard.
That's what Grandma would say, right?
Huh?
You told us Grandma would say that. At first she would, but as she got older, she would say that about her dad, that he kicked her out of the country and everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He didn't want to. He knocked her up again and then turned her in.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But Grandma would never say anything bad about him, but at the end she finally did.
Well, she
Yeah,
told me like
nobody
the things he
turned
did.
her
He
They were in Winnipeg and he took off.
yeah.
And then they found out he
Through
was
the
some,
community that he was in Milwaukee.
Minneapolis was someplace. And then anyway, a farmer took them across, covered them with blankets,
Yeah.
her and whatever kids she had.
Yeah.
And
She had Oscar and Mum. Willie
Yeah.
was later.
yeah, and hooked up with him. But he turned her in to the immigration, and they came, and his mom said she could still remember her mother was just busy mixing hamburger for supper, and when the immigration people came and took them, and they were like put in a jail for a couple of days, and then, but anyway, at some point they just drove them back across the border.
She said they ended up in Winnipeg with a $1 American $20 bill,
Yeah,
2
and-
kids and pregnant.
And it was around January
Wow.
the first.
Yeah, in the winter
And
time.
they put them up one night in a hotel, and then they had to go find accommodation. And so she had to go back to the neighborhood to find somebody who would let them stay, because they didn't even have any money. So all 5 of them slept in one bed,
Yeah.
this way.
Tough life. So then Gilmet kind of, I guess took her. I mean, she didn't have a lot of choice, right?
No, I would convenience all around. He got an employee. She got a,
Yeah, and Willie,
But
he got Willie for free,
Yeah.
because Willie would do a lot of the
Yeah.
heavy cleaning in the rooming houses.
Like Mom was saying, like when he came home from work, like he was a bon vivant, in Milwaukee. He'd come home, his clothes were all hanging for him, his shirt was clean, shoes were shined, she had it all there, and his bath was drawn. He'd go in and have his bath. And my mom's job was to run to the tavern, and they had these old lunch buckets that were around, and that, for 5 cents, he used to fill it up with beer. Then she'd bring that back, and that had to be on the table when he sat down. Then he'd eat supper, get dressed, and that was it. He'd be out all night fucking around. And that was every day. So one day, she seen a friend, a girl that she knew from school, and she got playing with her and came home late with a beer, and he beat her. He took his belt off, and it was all them with the metal thing. He beat the shit out of her. Like, he was just an animal. And he used to pick up Oscar by the ears, my mom said. Grab him by the ears and pick him up, you know. And his own mother told him, said to Grandma that she shouldn't marry him. He was a bad guy.
What was his name? Was it Meckling or something?
No, Meckling is the mother's side. He was Schwartz. No, Rosenberg, and he was Rosenberg and she was Schwartz. My grandmother was. Her maiden name is Schwartz. Schwartz is black.
Yeah.
Like swarthy. That's where that comes from, right? So she was Schwartz. Then she married him, and he was Rosenberg. And then remember, Mom screwed around with the spelling. She started with, I think it was E, and then she changed it to U.
Yeah.
Because someone told her it sounded better or something.
Yeah, or looked better.
Whatever. But
yeah.
one is German and the other one's Jewish. Because one talks about it's a mountain, isn't it?
Yeah,
And the other one is burger or rose or town, red town, like bird.
ERG is the mountain. And
Yeah, one of the I don't know. But so I always thought I had some Jewish in me. So when I got that DNA, there wasn't any. But they were wealthy evidently. They had a Fabriken, a factory, in Berlin.
Really?
His family, like I guess he was an officer in the army there because he went and fought against the Japanese in the Russian-Japanese War.
Whatever happened to him? You said that didn't Howie track down that when he died or something, building a bridge?
He got killed. He got injured in an industrial accident, and then he died. And at the time he died, he could have signed something, and a pension would have come to Grandma, but he wouldn't even do that. You know.
What a bastard!
Yeah. But how he tracked it down? But it turned out there was two Samuel Rosenbergs in the same graveyard.
So that was his name, Samuel Rosenberg.
Well, yeah, in German it was Schimmel Rosenberg.
What?
That's what Mom said, Schimmel. That's how they pronounce Samuel.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. Life in those days was very different.
Oh, no welfare, no nothing.
Yeah.
But she'd been taught by some old lady in the old country. She knew all about herbs and things, and like I remember when Howie fell that time, and he fell like we were jacking around, and where the city had cleared the lots out, all this bush, they hacked it with a machete, and it dries out, and they're like sharp. And he fell down. It went right in here.
Yeah.
And it got really bad. And they took him up to the doctor, and they even give him that was the beginning of penicillin, and it was just getting worse and worse. His hand was getting all. And Grandma came over, took one look at it, and she sent me up to Cunningham drugstore, and I bought a little bit of the flax. She brought it down. She stewed it all up and made it like a really thick porridge. And put it on there, and I think it was wax paper. And then she wrapped the thing around. Next morning, he got up like this, opened his hand up, and it all popped open, and it was a piece of bark way in there.
Wow.
And it shoved it way, and the doctor didn't, they couldn't do nothing. She fixed it overnight.
I can remember they did that on me for something, that it was white, like it was seeds, some kind of little seeds.
Yeah.
What were they, those seeds, that they cooked up for the poultice?
Well, it was flax.
Flax,
That's
yeah.
what I bought,
Yeah, 'cause the white inside, yeah.
But we had to cook it and cook it.
Yeah.
And then when it was like really thick, put it on the thing, and it sucked it right out,
Yeah,
She knew all that kind of shit. Like, I remember Mom saying, "Don't listen to Granny," because she used to pick mushrooms, and she was scared we'd get them and kill ourselves. But she knew all the right ones to pick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I never had the courage, because nobody taught me, and there's no way I was gonna pick a wild mushroom, because they're poison if you get toadstools, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can very easily bring home toadstools.
Well, how did Grandpa meet Grandma then? How did they meet?
Well, she used to work in a restaurant.
That's right.
She worked in a restaurant, and I got a picture of her that the illustrator for the, in them days, before photography,
Was that
every
when he
paper had
drove
an
it?
illustrator. They used to draw everything.
Oh, you've got that.
And I got that at home, yeah. And this guy used to eat every day. Winnipeg Free Press, I think it is.
Mhm.
He used to eat at that restaurant, and he drew her as a nun. She was the model.
Yeah.
And then on the back, he signed it. And evidently, he was quite a famous guy for his time as an illustrator. I still got that. There's an old car on there and everything, and the nun is striding by. Anyway, that's for the old man. He used to come in the back door, evidently, from where he worked.
Okay.
And then, he hit on her. He was an older guy, you know.
Well, she won that beauty contest. Like Burke's
He
where
was
they
12
had-
years older than her.
What? But Burke's, they put 3 pictures
Yeah.
in their window. And it was a contest, and Mom won it, and she won the diamond ring.
Yeah.
And with the diamond ring,
Bought the washing
she
machine.
bought the washing machine.
Yeah.
Some fellow, his wife had died, and he was making a tie tacker, and he wanted 3, I think, diamonds. And anyway, so she sold him her diamond, and he gave her the washing machine.
Yeah, she was a real pretty woman. You see those old pictures.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, she won the beauty contest, I don't know.
And then evidently the other, like that Wanda was over 2 years old. She was the other sister.
Yeah, pretty much, but didn't she die, didn't she?
Yeah, but I don't know where she died or what age she was.
Yeah.
I think Oscar was the oldest. And then there was another one that was died right at.
At birth.
At birth,
It was a
yeah.
boy, I think.
Otherwise, there would have been like 5 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Willie.
But I guess in them days, like the old man wasn't supposed to live. Evidently, when she was 9 months pregnant, they had some kind of a barn out back, and she fell down the ladder, and they figured that he'd be stillborn,
Oh,
but he popped out anyway. And he was the last. You figure that was the last in 1900. So like Auntie Barbara and them, they were ancient. Like when we were kids, they were old, right?
yeah.
Like
How many brothers and sisters did he have?
Hmm?
How many?
I think there's 7 altogether in the family.
There was Minnie. Well, Bill and John were the 2 brothers. John was the oldest. He's the guy that died here somewhere, drowned in the river or something.
Yeah, and I think he liked little.
Well, yeah, and Mom said he was a pedophile. They figured. That's what her grandma through the community. That's what the word was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was 3 boys, and all the rest were like Chrissy, Barbara, Minnie, and what was the other one? It was another broad. I don't
Aggie.
know. I can't remember out of the middle.
Aggie was her girlfriend.
Yeah.
We called her Auntie Aggie. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he met Grandma at the restaurant and courted her, and in those days you got married pretty quick. I mean, you didn't have a long
What?
courtship. You didn't have a long courtship, you know, you dated and then you got married pretty quickly, right? I think.
You know, probably the economics were a large part of it for, you know, who knows, eh? And not like, you know, she didn't even have the money. She, instead of getting her teeth fixed, they just pulled them out.
Yeah.
You know, like today, no one would ever think of that, right?
Well, I think Cam did that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's.
Oh, Cam didn't like going to the dentist,
Yeah.
so her teeth were,
Yeah.
and she was gonna need a lot of work, and she didn't, the money, and she didn't like going, so she just went and had them all pulled. Whereas from the time, I lied about my age at 13, so I could go to the dentist, because I didn't want false teeth.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because one morning we came down for breakfast, and the dog came down the stairs and
Yeah.
had Mom's false teeth.
Yeah, it really
And I think maybe that's what made me decide.
I remember chasing them around the fucking house. The dog was running around.
He looked
Like
like a little
a teeth.
fox terrier with a mouth full of teeth. And mom, of course, then she couldn't afford to fix
I
them.
remember she had a broom and she's.
Honey, they were cracked,
Yeah.
and they must have hurt her like hell, but she didn't have the money. Oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway, so no way was I gonna have false teeth.
So you lied about your age to get the job at the restaurant
Yeah.
to pay for the dentist.
Well,
Yes.
that was at the Honeydew. Yeah.
In the bus depot, the Vancouver bus depot.
We
And-
thought that was something, went down there, the old Honeydew, huh? It
Yeah,
was
and
like
I-
Orange Juliet sort of, I don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think that first summer, I worked a couple of months and I had about maybe 120. And I made up my mind was never gonna have false teeth.
Yeah.
And took half that money. It was about $5 a filling. And, I had 12 or 14 fillings. But part of it too, they couldn't afford the dentist and there was kind of a dental thing that you could go to it must have been free, it was in the
Like a
schools.
UBC deal or something. They still have that.
And it was my grade 2 year, and I was going to have to go, and they had really worked hard, so they got the appointment the last day of school, the last day they could get it. And I didn't wanna go, cause after I went the previous year, Cam said, how was it? And I said, oh, it was good. And she said, well, wait till the next time. And they pull your tooth.
Oh,
And it
fuck, it
comes
was like
apart
torture.
in
You know what they used to
pieces.
do? They used to bring it, like in East Stacy, they bring it to the school. It was a portable, and it was a foot pedal. The dentist would be doing this and working on you. So you can imagine the revolutions were fuck all compared to today. And it was just fucking torture.
On the drill, you mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, doing cavities and that. And they'd come by like 2-3 times a year and look
No,
at the
but
kids.
But they wouldn't give you
This
any
room-
Novocaine or anything?
Nothing. Oh, fuck. Like
No, when we went-
the torture chamber.
They
You'd be
considered-
sitting outside, your turn, and the other kid there. You'd be pissing your pants.
They worked very hard to get me in, and it's the second to last day of school.
Yeah.
And I went in, they finally called me, and there was a lot of chairs occupied. And I got in and they sat me in the chair and I started crying, said, I want to talk to my mom. And so they took me out, and my mom just, I embarrassed her terribly. She never stayed to see if they'd take me back again. She just, and we went to my grandma's house after, and I remember, I figured if I could be sick, maybe she wouldn't do whatever the hell give me a spanking. And so I remember they had an Empress Jad can, and I lay on the Chesterfield and just praying I could throw up. But I never managed it. Oh God. And again, she was just furious that I had embarrassed her. Oh, the good old days.
That fucking contraption was unbelievable. Like it had multiple purchases through pulleys, and the
Right.
guy's like, he's doing that.
Well, you could hear.
Oh fuck! And I can remember the smoke coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Fucking stink because it was all the
You could
fuck.
smell it, yeah.
Like the torture chamber.
What grade was that in? Like second grade and
Well,
something?
that was in like,
Was second grade with me because when I got out of the chair and said I wanted to see my mummy, there was no pressure on me to go again. She didn't want to be embarrassed anymore. And it was, I think, when I was 13, I got a job in the Honeydew, and I made up my mind I wanted to go to the dentist. I didn't want false teeth. But after that, like I embarrassed her, I was never taken to a dentist
well,
or
and that's the
anything.
thing, they didn't, like, I don't remember ever anybody wanting me to go to the dentist. The only reason I went to the guy at the school, cause they'd come and check you and say, oh, you got a cavity or somebody thing, But
Yeah,
it was
there was
fucking horrible. They
actually-
just come by like maybe once or twice a year and
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But then after about grade 2, I don't remember them ever coming back by to check.
Yeah, trying to change, maybe they changed the policy, because I don't remember it long, it was only like a couple of years, and then I didn't see it anymore.
Yeah,
So they must have, the education department got rid of it.
it was maybe costing them too much, I don't know.
They used to, like, a lot of shit they would never do today. I remember they'd come there and tell you how wonderful it was to go join the army when we were in high school. They try to recruit you, like, you know. Fuck.
Well, that's my parents said, never let your kids join the Cubs, the Boy
No,
Scouts.
but I remember the old man saying, I wanted to be a Boy Scout, and he says, or a Cub, no, he said, there's bad men there. He knew there's fucking gearboxes.
But they also
Really?
said that was just, they like to get them in
yeah.
training for the army.
Well, basically, in the States, like the Boy Scouts, that actually, it was no different than what Hitler was doing with the Hitler Youth. It's a stepping stone, right?
Yeah.
Now they went broke over the pedophilia. They filed for bankruptcy.
Oh, they're gone.
Yeah,
Well, because there used to be the sailor suits too.
Who?
Well, the Boy Scouts. But
Oh yeah, the sailors.
I don't know what they were
Yeah,
called.
yeah.
Sea Cadets.
Sea Cadets, that's right.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yep.
I remember I was the cadets. They were chasing me around the field that time.
Oh.
When I jumped on the field, remember, Grandma and Grandpa at Taylor Field?
Oh, yeah, right.
And they had shiny shoes and everything. They couldn't catch me. I was like running. And they went out in the field, and they never caught me. I went all the way.
They were chased. And of course, we were there watching the game, and Grandma and Grandpa were watching on TV, but they didn't realize the kid was him. But first of all, it started like there was a kids section.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we see this kid being chased over, and then he hopped over the fence, and my God, it's Howie.
I jumped over the fence onto the field, and I was in the end zone running around, and they sent the cadets after me.
What was
But
this?
they never
Was
caught
that
you.
The Rider game.
Riders? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because they had a section, it was 25 cents, and we just spent the whole time trying to figure out how to jump and get into the big section. That's all we wanted. And we jumped in the sides, and so then they started to concentrate the security on the side, and I'm like, the front's open, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And I went over the front fence, and I got on the field, and they sent the cadets after me. And I was running around the field, and they couldn't catch me, and I jumped up in the stands. I remember I ran up and down, ran, and eventually they stopped chasing me, and I went and sat with you, and you didn't say anything. You said, oh, there you are. Yeah, watch the game.
We were, you see this kid and you think, my God, it's Howie.
Yeah, they didn't get me. I was fast.
Oy, oy. The joys of parenthood.
Yeah.
You think you have such angelic children until you find out otherwise.
I think all kids are the same,
Hmm?
If you told your mother what you did, you'd fucking. I used to be able to tell Cam, but I couldn't tell the old lady.
You couldn't what?
I'd talk to Cam and discuss matters, but I could never talk to Mom about some of that shit. Oh my God.
Oh,
I remember this one night that we decided to steal his car. A whole bunch of us, well, 6 of us. It was Neil Beaumont. He played for Lions. I don't remember. Anyway. And so we jump in this car, and it was on above Castor on one of them streets. You know, when Castor used to go to the bridge,
Okay.
the old by Empire Stadium, and they all come down like this, right?
Yeah.
We get in this thing. No wonder it was sitting there. We had shocks in it. We kicked it. Had no fucking brakes. Roared right across. Oh, lucky there was no cars. Ran over into some guy's fucking lawn. Smashed the fence all down. And fucking scared shitless, you know. All that kind of stuff. Christ.
Oh, the joy.
But that was mainly you. Howie wasn't doing that kind of stuff.
I don't know. He was more the jock type, I guess. More the cuckoo. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he was always. I got stuck with all like chopping the wood and bringing the wood in because he was always playing sports. He was playing fucking football and rugby and lacrosse and I was the wood guy. I remember the old man got me out of bed and said, I told you, I want kindling, I want dry, I want medium wet, and heavy stuff for nights. Now get out there.
But then,
Because he was tired, right? He worked all
there was a
fucking day.
period
Right.
when I was grade 7, grade 8, where I would get up and I'd have to get the stove going
Yeah,
and make breakfast, which was porridge.
yeah.
And you didn't always have the best wood, or
Well,
it was wet.
Yeah, if you didn't have the kindling.
Or very often there was no kindling. And used to get, well, without kindling and you've got wet wood, it's pretty damn hard to start a fire.
This
And with no fire, you didn't cook breakfast.
this guy lived in that, that shack we had, Grandpa pulled that up the lane, there used to be a house down there, Jim Millen, remember that house?
Yeah.
So this guy, he come from the States, he must have done something, because he never went back, but he had all he had no electricity, he had all these beautiful, kerosene lanterns for reading, reflectors and that. I shot them all up with my BB gun. but anyway, all the furniture, when he gave it, he went in the old man's home and he said, to Mom, and so they put it all in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fuck, it'd be raining out, and it's like I just chop up a table or something. Fucking try. Well, this fucking stuff, some of it, and she was flipped right out because I think some was like early period furniture, from Boston, or I think he was from Boston.
Burned good though.
Oh, fuck it, it was drier than hell. I chopped it all up, fuck me. She comes, oh, where's all my furniture? I said, we burned it. And then the old man's record collection, during all the years he worked at the piano company in Winnipeg, all the hit songs by all the top stars, like Russ Columbo and all these guys way back, they'd have these demo records they'd taken. He used to get them, and he collected them, and he had it'd probably be priceless today, So we'd heave them out like frisbees and fucking shoot at them. He brought them all the way from Winnipeg, and that's fucking heavy, those boxes, those old records, Fuck, they were nice frisbees, though.
He must have got pissed off when he.
But the thing is, he wouldn't.
Well, he mustn't have realized right away.
Well, it was all done, and where's my records? Oh, fuck.
Oh, well. You had to make your own fun in those days.
Fuck, I remember when he had that low, his blood wasn't good, and he had to drink that stout.
Oh, yeah.
The
right.
doctor, he had to get a case of stout. Like, he never drank, but the doctor told him to take this stout because
It always had that foam.
it was supposed, or Bach beer, or it was horrible anyway, I know that. So I would steal one bottle and put an empty in and take it and hide it out in the back. And finally I got up to a dozen of them. But he must have figured it out because it was always short of a bottle. But fuck, we got pissed and they burned the bush there. Fucking loony. Tasted like shit though. It was that Bach beer.
Oh.
Bach beer is when they clean out the tanks. But it's full of yeasty in that.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be healthy because he was anemic or some bloody thing.
Yeah.
Fuck, then I get pissed. Then the other time, there was a party, there was a girl in grade 6 that was going to have this party. It was Old Man Lit, the mushroom farm?
Oh, yeah.
Well, his son Archie's daughter had this party. So I rode my bike up to Burnaby, because I knew the old Gilman was making dandelion wine. He had a bunch of dandelion wine. And I snagged a gallon, tied it on my bike, and fucked off with it. And I got so fucking drunk. Holy Christ. Fucking laying on the lawn. And at one point I climbed up on the roof. I did all kinds of crazy stuff.
How old were you?
12. Oh God, fucking laying there. Oh Jesus.
I just know when we had the babysit you, I was like, oh, just wait till mom and dad come home. Then they come home and say, well, how was it there? Oh, fine.
We used to go down there, we call it the dump, everybody dumped down there. But at nighttime, all the guys that come down and screw rods and stuff, and then drink beer. And then, I remember we'd go down there every night and see this guy be humping this rod, and this guy, I guess he went, he took his case of beer, he had quite a bit of, about 3/4, and he hid it in the bush, 'cause he figured, you know, maybe go back for the next day or something. So as soon as he fucked off, we had the beer. We used to bug the old lady, we'd go down there to be safes hanging on the trees, the guys would eat them. And, Mom, what's that?
Well, we would see on the way to school,
Yeah,
that old guy, Jim Mecklin, not Mecklin.
Millen,
Milling. And he'd have a stick.
yeah,
And he'd be picking them up and he would hang them
hanging on the trees.
And we didn't know what they were. I was in about grade 8.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd ask them, and of course they wouldn't tell you what they were.
No.
But every morning he'd be out there picking them up with this stick.
Because everybody used that for you know, all there'd be something like 2 and 3 cars there, and it was good because we used to get a lot of beer bottles, like, we used to get 25 cents a dozen, right, so.
Yeah, and then every
Not
once
maybe
in a
even
while,
if you do well, there's one thing, make sure you got.
you'd hear, you know, the girls screaming.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh, Mom would go down and save them with a broom.
and there was one
A lot of
time,
guys getting raped and all.
she actually got Dad to go with her, and I forget. Anyway, it was no young lady. She was maybe in her 40s.
Well, that's the one that squatted down and peed on the road.
Yes. And, well, cursing all the while.
Yeah.
And after that, he said, "There's no way I'm going down there to save these fucking old ladies."
Like I always remember, all night long you hear the pounding, they were breaking open a safe down there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, Christ, and then I guess there was a lot of coins in there, and it went all in the gravel, and so we mined it for like months. In the gravel, and you'd find like 50-cent pieces and 2 bits.
Yeah, and they wouldn't.
All
they
kinds
wouldn't
of
leave
shit
the
went on
safe
down there. Eh?
They wouldn't leave the safe there. They would break it open, but they didn't leave it.
Yeah, the one I seen they did, it was all smashed to hell.
Okay.
I mean, they had to work on it for hours to get the goddamn thing open.
So they stole the safe and brought it there,
Yeah.
like back in the bush. That was kind of
right
the.
on the lane, and then it was sledgehammers and bust into it, right?
Yeah, the lane.
You could find all kinds
The
of
lane
stuff,
led
like
to a
motorcycles
pasture.
stripped, and
And it was still all bush there.
I remember a brand new 58 Chevy. In the morning there it was up on blocks and all the wheels, they stole all the wheels off it. There's all kinds of shit going on down there.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think once Mom went down to save some damsel in distress.
Well, they
yeah,
quite a few times she didn't, till
Yeah.
that one brought, and that was it. No more damsel saving.
Oh. People, I don't think
It
people.
was quite a neighborhood, wasn't it?
Yeah, not many people
And
experience
old man
that.
McClure would be sneaking around at night too.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was a window peeper.
Oh, because that's what good ones, like when Grandma and Grandpa bought the house, there were 2 lots, like a lot on either side, beautiful grass. And they weren't with the title, but they said if anyone wanted to buy it, Mom and Dad would get first choice. Well, next thing there was someone building a house there.
Yeah, and they lived in our basement.
Yeah, and Goodwin was her name.
Yeah.
And they were drunkards. And when they drank, the house wasn't well insulated. There was a lot of swearing and I remember Cam and I would hang out the bathroom window and listen to all this, and then one night this guy came out and he's, pissing against the house. Anyway, and I don't know, then they sold it to somebody else.
Well, they built it out of all those mill ends, like they bought up truckloads, like when they're cutting the 2x4s out of a log, and then one piece goes to nothing. Well, then they got like 2 of them, nailed them together, and the fucking walls were all cuckoo, and they built it for next to nothing, I think. They lived in our basement, remember?
And I don't remember that.
Well, yeah, they lived down there.
Well, they're building
They came over and asked if they could. It wasn't very pleasant down there.
No.
Anyway.
It was a dirt floor, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was cement, but it all caved in because it's so boggy.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't good until Frank made the real good floor.
Oh, okay.
Frank that Camille figures that Joe killed him,
Yeah.
put him in the furnace.
You know,
Eh?
you don't know that for sure.
Well, no, but that's what Camille thought.
Yeah.
Cause all of a sudden Frank disappeared, like he was Joe's bum boy. He always had these guys hanging around near the wells. And of course he furnished them, he always had a gallon of wine there and tobacco and these guys, it's, you know, and they do all his odd jobs for him.
Who, McClurg?
No, Joe Gilmet.
Oh, Gilman, right, okay.
So this Frank guy was a World War II vet. I remember some of his fingers were shot off. And I don't know how he could roll cigarettes, but he could. And he did all the work, and he's the guy that did all the work at our place. He came over and they did the basement and everything. Anyway, but all of a sudden he disappeared. And Joe used to have he had the old time furnace in the basement, great big door. You could heave big logs in there. And so Camille figures that he did them in, Joe did them in and fucking put them in there. Because all of a sudden Frank disappeared.
Yeah, well.
And he's the guy that built the house in Burnaby on Francis.
Yeah. Well, maybe he decided he'd had enough.
I don't know. But Joe, even down in West Second, there was always these oddball guys. You'd go over there and they'd all be sitting around drinking wine.
And old ladies, I remember the one in the rocker
Yeah.
when I was trying to show off and make a pie. And it wasn't working. Until Grandma got fed up and, because I was trying to get the crust and it wouldn't roll. And so she just dumped a bunch of water and, and anyway, I'm sure it was very tough crust. When it finally came
I remember,
out.
I think it was one of your boyfriends coming over, and he made those pies, and she put them downstairs in that cold room. So I go down there, and took a little bit of crust, and fuck, that was good, and I couldn't stop myself. I ate the fucking crust off the fucking pie, and dug my finger in it and all this fucking stuff. And then she goes down after dinner, hear this yell, and says, "What happened?" Oh my God! I said, "It must have been the cat." And then, so she fucking bought it. Oh, the goddamn cat. It was me. And whoever it was, the guy said, "That's all right, I'll eat it anyway." Maybe it was Eric, I don't know.
What about the boyfriend you had that was an Englishman?
Oh, that Jeff.
Jeff.
Oh, fuck, we used to always give him a hard time. No one liked him, Limey.
Well, he
What-
was quite a bit older than me.
What a grandpa? Grandpa would,
He'd walk around with suspenders like Jim Clampett, you know.
With his underwear.
and he wears undershirt.
And then I've never forgotten, we went to visit Cam and Ernie. They were living, behind Kingsway.
Yeah,
Which is sort of back
yeah,
alley.
13th, yeah.
And when we got there, I don't know whose car was there.
Nellie?
No, we got there and parked. And then somebody or other came and they saw Jeff's car and they stopped and then they started again and deliberately ran into it, gave it a push.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't think who did that.
Probably
And
Ernie.
I must have seen it, because I knew it happened. Anyway, nobody liked Jeffrey.
You
Jeffrey. What did Grandpa say? He wasn't gonna.
know, I
'Cause-
didn't like him.
no, but your mom would say, "I'll put a shirt on, Jack," and what would he say?
Not for any bloody Englishman.